let's get going. You're going to get the full Kyle Farron working from home experience today. I have 4 kids playing out in the yard, 1 kid upstairs sleeping with mom who worked last night, and it might get noisy. We'll see. I have screens open and things so I can hear everybody. But welcome, welcome. We're going to be, oh boy, I thought I turned off notifications on everything. Okay, give me just a second. We're going to go back in and turn off some notifications. Okay. Notifications. Where's Twitter? It's alphabetical. I guess you can bring a book outside. Okay. Whoop. Okay. There we go. We'll get this started. Okay. Hi, Gates, in the chat. I'm going to be, what I've been working on for a little while now is some of the art for the Root RPG game. If you back that on Kickstarter, you should be looking forward to that. It's got a ton of new art. So today, we're going to be drawing a couple things, mostly just going to be doing this for an hour, I think. So we'll see how far we get into it. But we're going to draw a grizzled vagabond receiving some money. So we'll do that. And today, just for the sake of the stream, I don't think I'm going to do a pencil sketch first. I think I'm just going to do straight to ink. Let me make sure the stream is running. Yep. Got to retweet some stuff. Make sure it's going on Facebook. Okay. Cool. Okay, well, you didn't come here for me to check Twitch for things. So I'll be watching chat as best I can, and Gates said that she would be in the chat, and if I'm missing any important questions, I'm sure she'll ping me about it. Let's do the Fox Vagabond. How about that? I don't usually do a lot of talking while I'm drawing. So Gates told me that maybe we'll have to get some lo-fi hip-hop beats or something to accompany me. We're going to give this guy, he's supposed to be grizzled, so let's give him like several scars when we get to it. How much harder is it to draw straight to ink? I actually prefer it because then I'm removing a step and it goes faster. The problem, the thing that does get harder is compositions. So if I do something and I don't like it, I just have to start over, which is actually like how I prefer working anyway, because then I feel like I learn more that way. But when you're doing it for a client or your job, you don't always have time to completely start over everything. So that's the main difference. It's just you have to commit a lot more when you're drawing with ink. But I like that. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. We'll work on that from here. Okay, we'll give this guy some metals of some kind. Maybe took this off an Erie Captain Once Upon a Time. So that belongs to him now. A big kind of scarf situation there, or maybe like a cape. I think inking is the most fun part of my process because then it feels like it comes to life a little bit. It becomes real. Because like sketching is just like getting it down, and coloring is a lot of kind of just like unplugging my brain and making it look the way it does in my head. Um, but inking is like both the highest effort part, the longest part, and also the most rewarding part. We'll give this guy a couple knives and things on him. So on purpose, I picked one of the things from my art spec that doesn't have too many figures in it. Because like that's the big difference between inking and just direct inking and penciling is that if I whoop, if I mess this up, it's not going to be too hard to redraw 2 or 3 more characters. But if I'm redrawing a scene with several characters and I mess something up, then I'm like either restarting it and wasting a lot of time or spending a lot of time in Photoshop fixing things. And so in that case, it makes more sense to do all the pencil composition stuff first. Make sure I know where everything is, that I'm happy with it. So his gub, his glove. Do you guys have things in your family where somebody said it wrong once upon a time, or a baby said it, and then that's just the way you say it now? My dad's name is Ross, and we live like next door to some of my nieces and nephews. And one of my nephews, when he was really little, said, "Uncle Ross, can I have some gubs?" Talking about gloves, and he'd ask him that so often that now everybody just kind of calls them gubs at my house. Let's see. Do you find you got better at realizing quickly if when something wasn't going to work? Yeah. So that's a good question. So I joke around sometimes about one of the things I hated most about working in an open office is that illustration work, if you're doing it right, sometimes parts of it just look like you're doing nothing, that you're just staring at something. And part of my education, we'd talk about kind of there's 3 aspects of good visual communication, which are your concept, which is like your brain, the form, how it looks, and then the craftsmanship, which is like your hands. So you have your hands, your eyes, and your brain / heart. And learning how to look at things and make judgment calls about them is like a big part of communicating well. So like I can tell pretty well if an illustration's going south, partly by like starting with the things that I know get messed up the most. So like I'll start with a face, because if I mess up a facial expression, then I can restart quickly. But like body stuff, I can fudge a little bit more. So like if I had messed up this mace handle or something, then I could pretty easily just kind of like bury it back in the shadowy part of his cape. And in that way I know like kind of what stuff I can fix and what stuff I have to bail on. Yeah. Wear the cantaloupe roam. Yep. I have one of my little brothers is named Randy. That's his full name. He was named after my dad's cousin and best friend, and his name is Randy. That's it. And jokingly, we would call him Randall as a kid, like even though that's not his name. Um, and when my littlest brother Vance was little, he felt left out, and so we called him Vancel. And to this day, we still call him Vancel for fun. Hey, what's going on with Ivy? What, Ruby? What is it? Your iPad or a book? You can bring a sketchbook out. What's Ivy doing? Okay, tell me if she needs help.
No. No.
All right, let's see. My wife couldn't remember the word electrolytes and said electricals instead. They're now called or electrals in our house. Yep. Ice cream will forever be called I-meme. Let's see, what else can we do for this guy to make him look a little bit more grizzled? I have kind of a strap on his chest. Let's give him like a crossbow on his back. Like a big chunky crossbow. The kind that has a big hoop in the front for you to put your foot in. And then we'll give him like a hip quiver off this side. Do some of that Wayne Reynolds style design where they're just encumbered. Let's see, catty corner and catty corner. Yep, it's kitty corner. I agree, it's kitty corner. Catty corner means nothing. Salon Dijon, Celine Dion. That's pretty good too. All right. Let's see. So now we have this guy. Oh, I guess I need to move it up. I can't always tell how much is actually showing up on the screen, so I'm going to zoom out a tiny bit. Pardon my fingernails. I was gardening for a moment. All right, let's find somebody to give him some money. Let's make sure I have this kind of in frame, and then I'll do that. How about that? Okay. Now I can see better. A bat. Okay. Yeah, there is at least one bat in the Root RPG. So if you know anything about my art style, there's no such thing as being over encumbered. The giant backpack is a part of every adventure kit, or it should be. Is the stream doing okay, or is it chugging? It's just kind of delayed on my end, but my internet's been a little funny. I made sure I reset everything before I started today. So let's do a bat handing over some dosh, some cash. So I'll do, these are kind of the hands. Here's a bag of money. I'm going to put little marquee symbols on the bag, since that's probably the coin in Root. Okay, let's see. So for the bats, the interesting thing about bats and hedgehogs and all animals that don't have human-esque anatomy is figuring out how to do clothes on them. So for the bat, I think my solution was to kind of just make them be cloaked and then kind of figuring it out from there. This will be a little bit funny to work on, but we'll make it work. Okay, there's a little shoe. So because I needed to figure out the positioning of this bat, I didn't start with the face first. And this might be an example of like figuring out that I don't like the design of something after I started. So here's kind of his cloak situation. I'm also going to cheat and I'm going to look at the bat that I already drew to make sure it's aligning with my principles. There we go. Okay. Yeah, we can make that work. Facebook question: how did you get your start at Leader Games? I was the first employee of Leader Games. Patrick hired me to illustrate Vast the Crystal Caverns, which is right there. And that took off well enough that I got hired on temporarily, or not temporarily. I got hired on like as a contractor, and then an employee, and then now a salaried employee. So that's my story. I was working at a company that did fun runs around the country and doing freelance work in my spare time. I'm going to give this guy kind of a backpack situation. And I really liked that job, but I was doing stuff part-time, like during the night, and I did Vast that way. And Patrick hired me on to do future projects, and then Root happened, and those properties have been my bread and butter for a little bit, and kind of got me on the team permanently. That's really like the super abbreviated version, but let's see how I did the years. Let's see. My character in our game is a bat tinker. That sounds fun. Hi, Patrick. Cake is in the oven. Happy birthday to Mrs. Patrick Leader. Okay, let's see. So it might seem funny to like check my own drawing to remember how I did it, but it's been a while since I've drawn a bat for Root, and I want to make sure it's consistent. So it's okay to do that. And cheat a little bit. Okay, he's handing over some money. Okay. So my favorite kind of cake, since we're talking about cake, I have to eat gluten-free stuff now, so I don't eat that much cake anymore. But when I used to eat cake, my favorite cake is like a poke cake, a lemon cake that has my mom used to make for my birthday, and you poke holes in the top, and then you pour like uncured hot lemon jello mix in it. So like you start making lemon jello as if you were going to make it, but then instead of putting it in the fridge, you pour it into the holes in this cake and then put the cake in the fridge. And it makes the best cake in the world. It's so good. Let's see. So now I'm just going back through with a brush pen and getting all of like the hard shadow regions, or any other regions that I need to be high contrast so they stand out from the other areas. So like I'm doing the cape in the background, I'm also doing some of these areas on the arm so you can see these knives on his belt a little more clearly. I'm also defining the area between kind of the handkerchief and knot. I might also color in this crossbow in the background a little bit more. And then gotta make sure these ears are dark enough so you can know it's a fox. I will also make the fox's hands darker colored, but I'll do that with color and not with the ink pen, because then it'll be a little bit severe. And I feel like the focal point of the whole picture would just be this hand, and I don't need it to be that dark. Bury the bat. You have to check. We have I think a berry Barry would also be a good name for a mole with a shovel. They spelled Bury. Ice cream cake. That sounds good too. Um, I'm on a low FODMAP diet, and it means I can't have a lot of different fruit. It means I can't have gluten. It means I can't have lactose. It means I can't have anything high fructose. It's a pretty limiting diet, but for my birthday, Meredith figured out a lemon bar recipe because I can have lemon juice and lemons, and I like lemons. Man, they turned out so good. They turned out really good. All right, so now that I have kind of those prominent shadow areas, I'm going to go back and do some like the texture hatching. Let's see. It's a good question. Our house is now cake mixless, and we have another birthday coming, so this will be fun. So nobody used to use cake mixes. You don't have to have a cake mix to make a cake. One of the things about my low FODMAP diet is that I've had to learn to make lots of things from scratch because I never know what's in a store-bought thing. One of the big things that I can't eat is garlic and onions, and those things are in everything. And they don't even have to be listed on ingredients. Like it'll just say natural flavors, and it'll secretly be garlic and onions. So I'll be like eating something that seems fine, and then it'll make me sick later. So learn to cook a lot of things from scratch that way. You could figure out a birthday cake, I bet. I mean, if you have flour. I guess if you're out of flour, then you're up sad creek. Let's see. I mean, the big ingredient for making cake, besides flour, sugar, eggs, and butter, is time. Uh, and it is definitely harder time-wise to make a cake than it is to buy a cake or make one from a mix. So there's these two characters getting an exchange of money. I'm going to do probably just a little bit of background stuff on this one. I'll probably do some of the other background stuff digitally with some existing files. If anybody has any questions before I kind of switch to the next thing, do it up. All right. There is an exchange of goods. This was all ink to paper, no pencil, so I don't have to go back and erase over it like I usually do. And then we can kind of move on to the next thing. I'm actually going to look at my list and see if there's something that I could do that doesn't have that many characters. So I'm kind of coming to the end of the non-group images. Let's do a lizard vagabond. Should we do that? Let's do a lizard vagabond. I'm sure you can hear my kids outside. Squawking. Always squawking. There's my mouse pad. And it's gone. Okay. Let's do a lizard vagabond. And then similarly, I think we're going to make this lizard vagabond be carrying a lot of stuff, or using a lot of stuff. So for the lizards, facial expression is kind of everything because you're not just drawing a mouth on the shape of a head, like the shape of the head is the facial expression. And something from drawing dragons many times is that the last line you draw on a jaw is what makes the expression on the lizard. So I'm going to go down like that. So now it's a sad lizard. Now I'm going to go up a little bit. So now it's kind of like a happy lizard. And then go back up like that. So now it's smiling. But look, if I take that away, sad lizard again. So it's kind of funny thing. You could kind of have an overbite a little bit. And then we'll do the thing I've done for lots of lizards, which is have the tongue sticking out of the side. And then get this going up like that. Because this is such a kind of prominent part here, I am going to do some of the brush inking a little preemptively to make sure I like that mouth. Otherwise, I'm going to restart it. So, Ivy, what do you need, honey? I don't think we're playing with water right now, Ivy. No, we already watered the plants. We already watered the plants. You already watered the plants. All right. This might be a little bit too dinosaur-y. I'll putter away at it for a couple more minutes and see if I still feel that way. Okay. So I must admit, Lizard Cult is one of the factions that I have not gotten to play yet. I also haven't played the Corvid Conspiracy, just because I barely got my copy of Underworld before quarantine started. I've just not been able to get together with anyone, which is fine. My kids would play Root, but my oldest kid is 9, so it might be a little bit tricky for them to do it. Yeah, Ivy the plant protector. Oh, I went hard and made garden boxes with my wife this year. We've had the frames for the garden boxes for a long time now, and this year, because we've just been stuck at home, I finally got them going, and I had enough kind of spare wood that I made the kids little like 1 foot by 2 foot garden boxes. So each of the 4 older kids has one. They are so good about watering them, and Ivy would just drown her plants. I made sure and put big slots in the bottom of them so you can't really overwater them. The water will just go out the bottom. And she has, I think, rainbow carrots and some lettuce, and hers are definitely sprouting more than everybody else's, so maybe she's onto something with the water. So, let's see. I'm going to move my screen a little bit so we can see this a little bit better. Okay, what kind of weapon should this guy have? If you were a lizard vagabond, what kind of weapon would you have? Ebola? I read that as like Ebola at first. A boomerang. I'm gonna put some. I'll put some bolas on his belt, but I'll do I'll do a wavy knife on his belt too. How about that? And then maybe kind of an axe in his hand. I do like me an axe. Most of the root critters wear shoes unless their feet are an important part of like identifying them. So the birds don't wear shoes. The lizards don't wear shoes. I like a good axe. It's just economical. Just gets the job. Gets the job done. Alright. Some kind of scrap kind of situation. I'm gonna do like a gnarly overhand axe. So he's not attacking with it, he's just carrying it right now. Actually, she's just carrying it. And I'll come back and do some more detailed stuff on there. Do kind of some bracers, just define where the arm and elbow are. And then this will come in and mostly be shadowed, so I'm not too worried about that. And then we'll do in this hand the bolas. So this is where I would pencil sketch first to make sure I had the placement like I want it and get the silhouette. So I'm just going to kind of wing it, and if I don't like it, then I'll redo it. But so here's an example. Like I drew this circle wonky. So now that's either hatching, or I might go over it completely with black later and change the size of the circle. And if I was doing a pencil, I wouldn't have done that, but such is the way of ink to paper. Let's see. I don't know that I can lock the focus on my paper. I'm just using my phone, and then I'm doing the best I can with it. So I'll figure that out for next time when I have more time. I'm not going to try and do a quick fix on the fly. I feel like it would just mostly take our time. Tell you what, I will kind of center it, make sure I have it centered on here, and then maybe my hand will be out of the frame enough. Okay, let's try that. Maybe it didn't work, but that's okay. Okay, and then it doesn't really matter what she's wearing on her upper body because you won't be able to see most of it. I'll give her kind of like a raggedy, like torn cape in the back. And then we got to figure out like what kind of, do some kind of like tassel-y type robe in the front here. So you can embrace her druid culture a little bit. Then we have to have enough room for a tail coming out of the back too. So I really want those bolas to be defined, but that I'll just have to do that with some contrast because now it's running into her foot, and that's okay. Okay, and then we'll do the tail. Tail will have kind of wrapping up around. Make it chunky. Do some more kind of spines along the back. Some details there. Okay, I'll make our cape a little bit more pronounced until I like that silhouette, and then I'm going to go back in. Yep, I'm going to go back in with the heavier ink now. Let's see. Beard axe. I did not know that's what it's called. Cool axe. Okay. Hope if we're really quiet right now, you can hear a real house finch outside my window. Comes to visit me and eat my sunflower seeds. We were on a voice chat the other day when I was out having to do the call outside, and Patrick asked, "Is Snow White on the call?" because there were a lot of birds outside. I think to make these bolas stand out more from the foot area, I'm just gonna go all in and make them very dark. So I'm gonna give them kind of like a highlight edge on the top there, but now they look kind of like cast iron or something. They stand out more. Let's see. So one of the secrets of Reader Games is that we do all of our files on Dropbox right now, and we just share Dropbox accounts. So sometimes somebody will change something in the Dropbox, and a little notification will come up on my computer that says, "You just deleted this file," and I just think, for a split second, I think, no, like what? But it's just somebody else moving files around, and they know what they're doing. But it's funny that it tells me I did it. Let's see, and then let's make sure there's enough shadows around the axe that you can tell what shape it is. We're going to lose most of that knot. That's okay. The tongue will be similarly defined. We'll leave some of that for good old thin pen hatching 2. So, let's see. Love the pictures you take of the birds outside your window. I only get deer eating the birdseed I put out. So my parents, they get deer in their orchard. They have peach trees and pear trees and apple trees and apricot trees, and the deer would get in and eat the bark off the baby trees and kill them. And rather than like shoot at the deer or anything, they learned this trick where if you get like a nylon sock, like a nylon stocking, and you put a bar of like Old Spice or like just a scent that does not occur in nature, just like man soap, and you get it wet and put it in the nylon sock, and you can hang it from a tree, and it does work to deter deer. They just don't like the smell of there's people nearby. But I guess if you already have them kind of in your yard, they might not care. But this is far enough away from the house that it did help the deer stay away. It even helped the deer stay away from the yard when we found out a neighbor was putting out a salt lick for them. So some people were encouraging the deer, and we were like, please not. Please don't eat the baby trees. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, that's the real reason. It has nothing to do with the smell. They just don't like, they have a fear of socks. My favorite lines from a movie is "What's Up, Doc?" with Barbara Streisand when they're lying to someone through the door and they say something about snakes having a mortal fear of tile. I think that's so funny. All right. We're going to go back in, detail this guy. So the thing about this is that I've drawn enough lizards at this point, enough axes at this point, that like I can kind of just doodle this somewhat without reference. But I mean, earlier I looked at my own bat picture for reference. I will look up pictures of animals for reference, and sometimes, like one of the illustrations I had to do just barely for the Root RPG was for a vagabond using a grindstone, like sharpening sharpening a sword. Um, and the I had to look up what like a medieval grindstone would look like because I know what like a grindstone looks like now, but I was trying to imagine like what it would it look like for like an anthropomorphic squirrel to be using a grindstone. Um, my browser lost the chat for a minute, but hopefully it's still running. Um, yeah, so there's a lizard vagabond. I'm gonna scoot her over a little bit and then maybe just draw kind of like some background scenery while we finish out the hour, I guess. Uh, let's see. Let me check my window here and make sure I'm. So my setup today, if you didn't see it last time, is that I have a piece of poster plastic, and the poster plastic is suspended between a copy of the two best games in the world, Past the Crystal Caverns and Root. And that's supported by the book I used to flatten out my scanning and a stapler with no staples in it. And then it just has my phone resting on it. So we're doing our best. Doing our best here. Okay. I'm going to scoot over the lizard a little bit and just draw some scenery. Let's see. Let's do kind of a tipped over tree with some shrubs and stuff around it. We'll do some kind of roots poking out. I saw the other day somebody asked, like, what did the name Root come from? I don't remember who, like, proposed it. I really like naming things, and so I was probably involved, but I can't remember if I came up with the name for Root or not. Probably not. It was probably a team effort, but we were just trying to think of things. Like I think we called it Rule for a little bit, and it just like, man, I just wanted to feel more like organic or like it's kind of unique. And I had some of the drawings kind of already, and one of them was just this bird that ended up being on the cover of the box, who's on top of this just giant tree root. We were like, well, that kind of keeps with our one syllable 4-letter scheme that we did at the Vast. Maybe we can just make that work. And I think it did. People liked it. We had we don't really get a lot of feedback about the name. We get people from Australia joking around about the name, but I don't think anybody's been like, I hate this name. Some of the feedback I do think is funny was when people like, I got tricked into playing Root. Like, I thought this game was going to be cute, but it's actually very mean. And it's like, I did my job. I got you to play a game that you wouldn't have normally played. Alright, so we'll do some edges. We'll do some kind of falling apart parts of the tree down here. Oh, that's kind of behind where you can see. I'll scoot it up a little bit. And I'll do some mushrooms growing out of the log. So all this is going to be probably mostly behind the lizard. So it doesn't matter if every line is closed or, oh, well, OBS went kaput for a second there. Hopefully it's fixed now. Apologies about the connection. We're working it out. My internet has been a little bit spotty today. It seems like every time I'm scheduled to stream something, Comcast decides it's having a hard time. This will mostly be filled in down here. We're back. Thanks for being patient. I don't know if the Facebook stream survived, but this one on Twitch is still going. Does anybody have any questions about leader game stuff, about drawing stuff? I was gonna come up with like some prompts for people to ask questions, and I forgot. I was gonna stream this on a different day and then switched, so I didn't get very much ready, as you can probably tell. Let's see. All right. So this is just mostly to give a sense of shape to this log. And then I'll go back in and fill in some of the other spaces. I can hear my daughter yelling "Daddy," but like not in a panicked way. She's just looking for me. And I don't know why the other kids don't just tell her where I am. Ivy, I'm down here. She'll find it. Which faction in Peru did you draw first? Come up with the design first. I think cats were one of the first ones because we wanted like this kind of Redwall-esque feeling, where it's like mostly naturally occurring woodland animals, and we needed one standout group to be like to still fit, but seem like they were out of place, like usurpers or colonizers. And so the cats were kind of the perfect fit for that. When you think of woodland animals, you don't think of cats usually. So you have all like these kind of domesticated looking cats were like the current rulers and the opposition to most of the other group. And kind of a literalish stand-in for like this what a colonist faction would be. And most of their gameplay is focused around building up infrastructure and putting down rebellion, so it just made sense to have their enemies be like mice and birds. Kind of have like a natural order to that. And then like the cats and raccoons thing is like they can be friends sometimes. They can also be dangerous to each other. So probably the cats and bunnies and things. We talked early on, Cole and I, about not wanting any of the animals to be like a stand-in for like an actual like culture or race of people. I hope we succeeded at that, because like it's very cringy on like My Little Pony that all of the like the Native American coded animals are bison, and all of the like African coated animals or zebras, and I don't know. It's just a little bit uncomfortable. So the whole idea is that like we didn't put a ton of story in there, so you can kind of make it what you want to be. Um, and the line I give people when I'm selling root at conventions is that like you can play the Woodland Alliance as Robin Hood, or you can play the Woodland Alliance as like a terrorist faction. It just kind of depends on how you want to handle it and your point of view. Um, yeah, so there's a felled tree and a lizard vagabond. Um, I think that's kind of it that I'm going to do on the stream today. I'll do just a couple, maybe like 1 or 2 minutes, if anybody has any questions or anything for me, and then we'll wrap it up. And then I can get the ivy that's looking for me down for a nap. You're welcome, Marshall. Happy to do it. Okay, I think that's it. Yep, we'll be playing Vast Mysterious Manor on Thursday. Same bat time, same bat station. So be sure to check that out. And talk to you guys later. See you on the Flippy Flop.